The elevator that stopped where no floor existed. I never believed in ghost stories. At least, not until I started working the night shift at an office building on the outskirts of Jinan. The building was old, but nothing about it seemed unusual during the day. Hundreds of people worked there. Elevators ran constantly. The lobby was always crowded. At night, however, everything changed. By 11 o'clock, almost everyone had gone home. Only security guards and a few employees stayed behind. For 6 months, my routine never changed. I would finish my work around midnight, pack my laptop, lock my office on the 8th floor, and take elevator 3 down to the lobby. It was always the same elevator. One evening, as I stepped inside, I noticed something strange. The floor indicator showed a number I had never seen before, 13. I frowned. The building only had 12 floors. I checked the emergency evacuation map hanging inside the elevator. Basement, lobby, floors 2 through 12. There was no 13th floor. I assumed it was just a malfunction. I pressed the button for the lobby. The doors closed. The elevator began moving. Instead of going down, it went up, 1 floor, then another. Finally, it stopped. The display read 13. The doors slowly opened. Outside was a hallway, not a construction area, not an empty shaft, a real hallway. The lights flickered overhead. The walls were painted the same pale gray as the rest of the building. For a second, I actually wondered if I had somehow forgotten this floor existed. Then I noticed something impossible. There were no office numbers, no exit signs, no fire extinguishers, just one long corridor stretching into darkness. I reached for the door close button. Nothing happened. The doors remained open. Then I heard footsteps, slow, even, click, click, click. They echoed through the hallway. Someone was walking toward the elevator. At first, I couldn't see anyone. Then a figure appeared beneath one of the flickering lights. A woman. She wore what looked like an old-fashioned red dress. Her hair completely covered her face. She wasn't walking normally. Her movements were delayed, like every step happened half a second too late. Something inside me screamed not to move. She kept getting closer, 20 meters away. 15, 10. The elevator doors suddenly slammed shut on their own. The cabin dropped so fast that I lost my balance. A few seconds later, the doors opened in the lobby. The security guard looked at me. "You look pale," he said. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he sighed. Then he asked me one question. "Did she look up?" I shook my head. He looked relieved. "You were lucky." Before I could ask what he meant, he walked away. The next evening I came back to work. I told myself it had been exhaustion, a dream, a mechanical error. Around midnight, I got into elevator 3 again. This time I pressed the lobby button. The elevator went down normally. I laughed at myself. Maybe I had imagined everything. Just before the doors opened, the cabin stopped. The lights went out, complete darkness. Then, a soft female voice whispered behind me, "You shouldn't have come back." The lights turned on immediately. The doors opened. I stumbled into the lobby. No one else was inside. The next morning, I requested the building's security footage. The manager refused. When I explained why, his expression changed. He called the chief engineer instead. The engineer quietly pulled out a set of blueprints. He spread them across the table. I searched every page. There was no 13th floor, not even in the original construction plans. Then he told me something that still keeps me awake. "You aren't the first person to report it." He opened a dusty folder. Inside were handwritten reports dating back almost 30 years, different employees, different companies, different decades. Every single report described the same thing: an elevator stopping on a floor that didn't exist, a long hallway, a woman in red, and one sentence appeared in every report: "Never step out of the elevator." I quit that job the next day. Months later, I met the same security guard by chance. I finally asked him what would have happened if I had walked into the hallway. He stared at me for a long time before answering. "I don't know." He paused, "because nobody who stepped out ever came back." The man who knocked on my apartment door every night. I never believed in paranormal stories. I've always been the type of person who looks for a logical explanation before jumping to conclusions. That's probably why I stayed in that apartment longer than I should have. It happened 2 years ago, after I moved to Hangzhou for work. The apartment wasn't anything special. It was on the 12th floor of an old residential building that had probably been standing since the late 90s. The rent was surprisingly cheap, but I assumed it was because the place was small. The first week was completely normal. Then on the 8th night, someone knocked on my door. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I checked my phone, 2:37 a.m. At first I thought one of my neighbors needed help. I looked through the peephole, nobody. I opened the door anyway. The hallway was empty, not just empty, silent. There wasn't even the sound of the elevator moving. I shrugged it off and went back to bed. The next night, 2:37 a.m., 3 knocks. Exactly the same. This time I didn't open the door. I looked through the peephole immediately. Nothing, not a single person. By the 4th night I was getting annoyed. I decided I'd catch whoever was doing it. At 2:30 I stood behind the door with my phone recording. 2:37, knock, knock, knock. The sound came from the other side of the door. I swung it open immediately. Nobody. I even ran to the stairwell. No footsteps, no elevator, nothing. The hallway was completely empty. The strange part wasn't that nobody was there. It was that there was nowhere for anyone to hide. The hallway was straight. If someone had run away, I would have seen them. The next morning, I asked the elderly woman who lived across from me if she'd heard the knocking. She looked confused. What knocking? I explained everything. She stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then she asked, "What time?" 2:37. She slowly nodded. "You should stop opening the door." I laughed. "Why?" She didn't answer. She simply walked away that night. I ignored the knocking. The following night, it came again. After almost 2 weeks, I finally mentioned it to the building manager. His face changed immediately. He asked for my apartment number. 1207. He sighed. "You're the 3rd tenant to complain." I asked him if someone was playing a prank. He shook his head. "There are no cameras in your hallway." I frowned. "What do you mean? I've seen security cameras." He looked at me strangely. "Not on the 12th floor. That didn't make sense. I could have sworn there was one above the elevator." That evening I checked. He was right. There wasn't one. I don't know why I remembered seeing it. On the 20th night, I made the worst decision of my life. When the knocking started, I didn't open the door. Instead, I spoke through it. "Who are you?" For several seconds, nothing. Then a man's voice answered, very quietly. "I'm in your apartment." I froze. I slowly turned around. Every light in the apartment went out at the same time. I never spent another night there. A week later, I went back with 2 friends to collect the rest of my things. As we were leaving, one of them stopped in the hallway. He looked at my front door and asked, "Who's the guy standing inside your apartment?" I looked back. The door was closed. No one should have been inside.